As had happened to Crass, Morrissey too was questioned by MI5 for some of his comments and lyrics. Owing to the blatant lyrical content of Morrissey's Margaret on the Guillotine, wishing for the death of Thatcher, Morrissey had his house searched by the police, as he later documented in his song He Knows I'd Love to See Him. Morrissey sings, "Oh, my name still conjures up deadly deeds, and a bad taste in the mouth, and the police, they actually know me. They said, you're just another person in the world. You're just another fool with radical views. You're just another who has maddening views." Like the Crass song, there is no ambiguity to Morrissey's blunt opinion of the former Prime Minister. Morrissey later said, "Thatcher was a terror without an atom of humanity, and she was nothing more than barbaric." Incidentally, the song title Margaret on the Guillotine was originally intended to be the title of the Smiths album The Queen is Dead. At length, Morrissey scathingly said about Thatcher, "Thatcher is remembered as the Iron Lady only because she possessed completely negative traits such as persistent stubbornness and a determined refusal to listen to others. Every move she made was charged by negativity. She destroyed the British manufacturing industry. She hated the miners. She hated the arts. She hated the Irish freedom fighters and allowed them to die. She hated the English poor and did nothing at all to help them. She hated Greenpeace and environmental protectionists. She was the only European political leader who opposed a ban on the ivory trade. She had no wit and no warmth, and even her own cabinet booted her out. She gave the order to blow up the Belgrano, even though it was outside of the Malvinas exclusion zone and was sailing away from the islands. When the young Argentinian boys aboard the Belgrano had suffered a most appalling and unjust death, Thatcher gave the thumbs-up sign for the British press." As can be seen, both Morrissey and Crass shared similar opinions concerning Thatcher and the Falklands War, and both Crass and Morrissey purposely utilised provocative statements designed to make the listener ask questions. It's possible to see Morrissey's invective become increasingly harsh because of his opinion of the establishment. He clearly felt that his opinions would always be diluted by the press or used to attack him. Morrissey once said, "The difficulty with giving a comment on Thatcher's death to the British tabloids is that, no matter how calmly and measured you speak, the comment must be reported as an outburst or an explosive attack if your view is not pro-establishment. If you reference the Malvinas, it will be switched to the Falklands, and your Thatcher will be softened to a Maggie." Additionally, Morrissey's gallows humour disappointed reaction and resulting comments about the Brighton bomb that nearly killed Thatcher understandably led most people to believe he was very left-wing. But I don't think it's anywhere near as simple as that. Morrissey repeatedly denounced politicians from all sides if their actions were in opposition to his beliefs and principles. It's possible this ambivalence to politicians could be traced back to his childhood, about which he said, "No one we knew was on the electoral roll." Stephen Patrick Morrissey was born in Davyhulme, a suburb of Manchester, on the 22nd of May 1959, at what was originally called Davyhulme Park Hospital, before it changed its name to Trafford General Hospital. Davyhulme Park Hospital became the first ever NHS hospital in 1948, 11 years before Morrissey was born, during a difficult birth. In his autobiography, partially as a play on words about his supposed ego, Morrissey said his big head caused complications for his mother during his birth. Reflecting on his early surroundings, Morrissey remarked, "My childhood is streets upon streets upon streets upon streets. Streets to define you and streets to confine you. Fields are places in books." So it was perhaps inevitable Morrissey's inner-city, working-class background made him psychologically associate himself initially with people around him that he socially identified with from an early age. When huge success came with the Smiths, solidified around the time of The Queen is Dead, Morrissey's apparently left-leaning opinions were held up for the world to see. Incidentally, for all its plaudits, The Queen is Dead didn't quite get the top spot of the UK album charts. It reached number 2, beaten to the top position by a Genesis global hit album, far removed from Morrissey and Marr's municipal masterpiece, The Queen is Dead. Nevertheless, they achieved their success by intelligence, great songs, and image. Like many bands previously, the Smiths realised image and music must go hand in glove to be successful. The Smiths, and Morrissey in particular, presented a carefully coordinated image of being anti-image. The 1980s was awash with slickly presented London-based bands like Spandau Ballet and Duran Duran that seemed to revel in ostentatious wealth and lifestyles. By contrast, the colourful and affluent aspiration promoted by London-centric bands was far removed from the grey, often rain-soaked streets of Manchester. In contrast to Simon Le Bon and Tony Hadley and Boy George dressing up in wildly colourful clothes and makeup, Morrissey intentionally chose to drab down as an anti-image statement. In the 1980s, success and affluence were promoted by most bands, and those bands wore colourful and flamboyant clothing and made videos on yachts in spectacular, vivid, aspirational colour. This was their image. However, the Smiths illustrated their disdain with their contrasting image of solemn grey and black clothing, and further mocked by Morrissey's floral embellishments, and a hearing aid that he didn't need. Additionally, Morrissey directed the photoshoot for The Queen is Dead to be a drab black and white image outside Salford Lads Club, as the antithesis of Duran Duran's video for their #1 hit Rio, that saw them sailing around on a yacht in lavish colour, whilst leering lasciviously at scantily dressed women. As a result of the Salford Lads Club photograph wit, Morrissey had the musical world eating from his vegetarian hands, and the fans and critics, for a time, gorged on his every utterance. It must be said, however, despite the Smiths presenting themselves as the antithesis of the flamboyant image of contemporaries such as Spandau Ballet and Duran Duran, Morrissey was intelligent enough to know pop music success requires an image, and therefore cultivated a successful image of anti-image. To be fair, Morrissey doesn't deny his anti-image strategy. Talking about his youthful ambitions of stardom, Morrissey once said, "Pop music was all I ever had, and it was completely entwined with the image of the pop star." From his teenage years, Morrissey knew the power of pop flamboyance. He was a glam rock fan in the 1970s, and particularly liked the very colourful T-Rex, David Bowie, Roxy Music, Sparks, and the New York Dolls. So, Morrissey clearly understood the power of image for pop music success. But Morrissey took this a step further. He wasn't interested in image just for the sake of it. He developed the idea of having an image as a method of making a statement about beliefs he held. So, as part of using his outspoken image as a technique to highlight principles important to him, does Morrissey purposely provoke comment and outrage to garner attention for his views? Now, I don't know the answer. I'm still confused. On the one hand, I love most of Morrissey's music, certainly the Smiths period, but some of his comments make me uneasy. But is that because I've misunderstood them? The only thing I'm sure of is, whilst writing this Musical Steps episode, I played my copies of those Smiths albums from the 1980s, and they are still brilliant. In 2019, Johnny Marr was asked whether or not he was worried about people viewing the music and legacy of the Smiths differently, given the controversy surrounding Morrissey's political beliefs and statements. Marr replied, "I don't think you can change history. I'm not worried." He went on to say, "Morrissey has got nothing to do with my world or my life. The songs are out there for people to judge, relate to, and hear." Now I'll finish up here with that question still unresolved in my mind. So let me know what you think in the comments section, and like and subscribe should you so desire for further Musical Steps episodes. I'll talk to you again soon.
I can see it in your eyes.